Welcome to CrossPlatform podcast. We are here to discuss how to solve productivity problems across platforms. I'm Augusto Pinaud,
And I'm Art Gelwicks.
and we are on our first episodes of the news of the week. And contrary to what we said on our past episode, we are going to share more than one news this time, since it's
Well,
the
that's okay.
inauguration episode. Need to be more than one.
It doesn't have to be just one. It can be multiple, but these are ones that we think are important this week, that are
Correct.
interesting, that may not be at the top of the headlines, but they have either an impact or they have had an impact over time. So why don't you go ahead and start, Augusto, with um, probably one of the most impactful one or organizations out there.
Well, Apple is the first 3 trillion valuation. And
That's amazing
how
to
you
me.
how'd you digest that thing?
Well, there's a point where I guess you don't. I mean, there's a point where there's just so much money involved. It is what it is. I mean, you can't count that. It doesn't factor into things. My question is, does that change, alter, or expand their thinking when it comes to their platform and how people use it? Or is it a validation of everything they've done so far and their approach to things? I'm curious what you think, because like I said, I'm not normally an Apple guy, so I don't have a lot of insight into their thought process.
Yes. So my question is Apple now in the direction of General Electric, you know,
Okay.
where we grow and grow and grow and grow, and at the end it's a brand, that can do
Mm-hmm.
virtually anything? Or are they going to be able to grow and grow and grow and grow and keep that initial heart that
It
built them?
and it's interesting that you bring that up, because Apple, being a $3 trillion company, is still fairly limited in the scope of the products and the
Yeah.
services they provide. I mean, they stay pretty much in their wheelhouse. Take our favorite comparison company, Samsung. Samsung has a market capitalization of 326 billion, way, way, way below Apple. However, they have a hugely diverse product catalog, and not just consumer electronics, refrigerators, washing machines, home IoT systems, the entire gambit. So the question I still go back to, and I don't know that it's necessarily a question that has an answer, but is it something that Apple looks at this and says, "Yep, we're doing the right thing. We're going to keep going down this path"? Personally, I think it is. I think it is justification and rationale for them to keep doing exactly what they've been doing year in and year out. I don't see them changing their path, and this just gives them that much more of a reason to keep doing that.
Yeah. That is a good point. I don't know.
All
It's
right.
it's it's an exciting news to look that.
Does it make a
But
difference?
let me remember, they were the first one also to get to the trillion.
Right. But does it make a difference for the everyday user? Do you think it makes them better at providing better products or better services because they have so much money, or does it matter?
That's a really good point, and I don't know the answer to that. And my concern is now being that massive,
Mm-hmm.
they may even have the luxury to wait.
Could very well be. I was reading an article earlier this week talking about the foldable Apple phone, the rumor of that. And they're talking about possibly in 2023. Well, that's a while. I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking a good year and a half, almost 2 years before we're really starting to see something like that. They don't feel like there's an urgency to do something like that. And
But
if you got
and
$3
that is
trillion,
the point.
you
That
don't
is where
have
it
to.
may affect consumers. With the M1 that they released last year,
Mm-hmm.
are they in a hurry
Yeah. Do they
to
have Do they feel like they have to innovate? I don't know that they necessarily feel like they have to.
I think they will continue to innovate. I just think it's going to be less risky. So
Question
they
is
are going to take a lot less risks because
how
they
much more
can
can they
afford them.
how much more can they grow? How much bigger can they get? I mean,
Well, again, what is interesting is that when you look at GE, General Electric, okay, they had so many industries. Apple really has 7 products. You have laptops, you have tablets, you have phones, and you have the accessories, maybe 4. So that's what is really, really interesting.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at their stock chart right now, and just over the past 5 years, they've gone from, in 2017, they went from about $29 a share. Currently, they're at $174 a share, which is absolutely good growth. I mean, no question about it. But if we compare that to somebody like Microsoft is at $316 a share. And it's the numbers at this scale, whenever we see these kinds of announcements
Correct.
of these massive numbers, they sound great. But really the only thing I can latch onto is that, okay, they're not going to go away anytime soon. Apple's not going to fold up and close their doors next week. So I have confidence in at least their products and their services will be around for a little while. That's
Correct.
really the only thing I can take away from that.
But that said, our second story is exactly of that. It's a showdown, and it's the
Right.
classic BlackBerry phones stop working as of January 4th, 2022.
Yeah. And just before we jump into that, just for reference, I was mentioning Samsung. Samsung stock price, $1,604 per share. Again, these numbers just boggle my mind at times.
Yeah,
But let's go back to BlackBerry. This was the thing that got so many people productive. I mean, this is the thing that really ushered in this idea of mobile productivity. I mean, we had PDAs and things like that, and that's fine, and the trios, and that's great. But this became the poster child.
And I think that was the difference. The difference is this was the device that bring mobile productivity into the mainstream market.
Mm-hmm.
The geeks were productive before, as you said, the trio, and
mm-hmm.
I always said I have a battery on my HP. It was a PC user at the time, and it was a battery that you basically sit your laptop on top of that thing, and you give 36 hours of battery. So it was heavy, heavier than the laptop, I remember,
Mm-hmm.
but basically, as a road warrior, I never look into plugins, and it was at the time it was $400 or $500. I mean, it was a really expensive battery, but for a person who basically spent his life outside, I remember getting into the buildings and people, begging, sitting on the, these people in suits like me, sitting on the floor so their laptop they can charge you a little bit before the meeting. And every time I saw that, this battery is heavy as you know what, but it's worth every penny.
Yeah. The BlackBerry, to me, I mean, aside from having that poster child effect, it had connectivity. It had secure connectivity, which was a critical aspect. It wasn't tied to a centralized location, wasn't hardwired into things. And it had a truly usable mobile keyboard, physical keyboard. I mean, I knew guys who could type 40, 50 words a minute with their 2 thumbs without looking at it. That could just stand there and just type. I'm like, are you kidding me? And the question I have, it's not just a pour a drink out for the death of the classic BlackBerry, but did we lose something when we lost physical keyboards? I'm curious what you think about
I was sharing with my kids who have their phones, all the phones they know has been without physical keyboard. And I was a Trio user. And I'm going to say if you ask me between graffiti, that was what the Palm OS used before the keyboards, and then you ask me the physical keyboard, and then you ask me now the iPhone, what that I miss the most, and I will tell you graffiti.
Oh, really? Okay.
I
I wouldn't
was
have guessed that.
ridiculously fast in graffiti.
It
I
was.
got fast in my trio. I got fast in um, the Blackberry, but still, my favorite input was the stylus with graffiti.
Yeah, I think we did lose something for those people who were indoctrinated on the physical keyboard on the mobile devices. And the reason why I say that is because it's something I do with my devices all the time. When I have any device, any keyboard that I use, I do two things. One, I turn on haptic feedback, and I turn on the sound of the key click.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear it, and I want to feel it that I've pressed the button. If I can't actually physically feel the button, I want everything else. And honestly, I see an impact in my typing speed if I don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
If I turn off that sound, turn off that my error rate goes through the roof. And I don't know why it is. It's not like I can feel the edges of the keys or anything like that, but there's something
tangible. On the feedback. Something real on the feedback.
There's definitely something tangible. So anybody, the generations we have now who have grown up without any sort of tangible keyboard, they get it. They don't need that. But I think we did lose something. And there were some devices, some accessory manufacturers that tried to bring out physical keyboards.
But the market never responded to that.
They never did. And there were transitionary devices. I forget the one that had the slide down keyboard and the flip open. They tried very hard, but what you gained from being able to turn that space of the keyboard into display, was worth more than the keyboard could provide. So, yes, we pour one out for the classic Blackberry. It is gone the way of the dodo.
Yeah, because even if you look on the iPad where you have a significantly bigger, and I can type pretty decently in the screen on the iPad, but the fact that I lose half of the screen, I prefer to connect it to a keyboard if I can.
Yep, I do the same thing. I have my keyboard, and I will use that because that physical contact point will always be faster for me.
Yeah.
So, but that's just for me, and I'm an old dog, and that's a new trick. So
we come then to the next thing. That is HP Unleash the Beast in the Elite Dragonfly Chromebook.
Yeah, I pulled this article out. It was interesting because CES has been going on as of late, and they've been releasing a bunch of different devices. There's been some neat devices, but this caught my eye, the HP Elite Dragonfly Chromebook. And the reason why it did, not so much the fact that it's innovative, but it is absolutely that, a beast. At the top end spec, it has 32 gig of RAM, 512 gig SSD. It's running a 12th gen Intel Alder Lake processor. It's running a 13.5 inch screen, or actually a 3.2 format screen, 5G capable SIM slot. This is a Chromebook we are talking about here. We are not talking about a gaming machine. We are not talking about a high-end Windows machine. We're not talking about an M1, Apple machine. This is a Chromebook, for crying out loud.
But I think it's fantastic because Samsung as well as HP are really trying to bring Chromebook to the high end. If you live on a Google environment, there is nothing else.
So the reason why I raised this one up is this worth $1,000? Because it's $1,000 machine. Well, has Chrome OS gotten to the point where it is worth $1,000 investment in hardware?
And I will tell you the answer is that yes. And I'm actually going to bring you the case example for this. Okay. I have a client where everything they do lives on Google. Email, calendar, Google Meet. If there is a Google product that can solve the itch, that's what the company have. Okay. It's a developing house. And the CEO, lives between his phone and this. Okay.
Okay.
But Do he needs what a Windows machine or what a Mac use? No. He is a prime candidate for this. He will get now a high end, incredibly integrated with his Google ecosystem, and is going to work incredibly beautiful with
Mhm.
his Android phone.
Yeah, I agree. I think I still struggle at the price point because I still shudder at spending $1,000 on a Chromebook. However,
Given, but
however,
how?
though, yeah, think about how long this is going to last. I mean, with
Right.
current upgrades and current upgrade plans, you're going to get 8, 9 years out of this device. I mean, that's what the targets are. This works with a USI pen. It's got 50. It can do. It's got a 51 watt hour battery that can do a with fast charge. It can get it to 90% in 90 minutes. That's the type of thing when you're looking at a serious device. Well, this qualifies as that.
But if you live on a Chromebook, and one of the things when you go into Best Buy, okay, that
Mhm.
I believe had hurt Chromebooks is that what devices you have there. You have pieces of junk or plastic junk. There is
Mhm.
nothing, a device that you
No,
look and say,
you're right.
nice. Okay. And then what they have next to that, they have the Surface, they have the high end PC. Okay. And then they have hiding the piece of plastic junks PC that they sell.
Well,
Okay. And then you have the MacBooks.
the only company that was bringing out Chromebooks that were flagship level was Google with the
Yes.
Pixel books and all, and that's great.
And they
But
stop.
no, they didn't. Nobody really bought them. This is when you take a company like an HP, you take a high end device like this, a corporate buyer could consider something like
And
this.
now I'm going to bring the second thing. When you look into corporate who are not Windows based,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you can now bring this to all your executive and have them a really cool machine where they will not complain.
Yeah. No, I think
And
it's definitely a good sign for Chrome OS that we're going to see
oh, it is
devices
a
like
great
this
sign.
and bigger companies, because there is that debate right now: have we hit peak Chromebook with education and the pandemic and things like that? I don't know that we necessarily have,
I don't think
but
we have, but again, think now. Go back to that market.
Mhm.
You have now principals that is equivalent to the CEO and all the director and teacher levels.
Yeah,
That now you can write this high end machine instead of the, because again, as you said, it's 8 years.
yeah, you've got a
Okay?
lifespan attached to this,
If I
which
get a lifetime of 8 years for Chromebooks to my teachers, why buy the cheap $100 or
right.
$150?
No, I completely agree. So I think it bodes well, and I think it's worth watching. But it also dovetails us into our final story. Uh, Nextbook, which is a company that I've followed for a while, they have the ability. Nextbook provides. It's basically like a laptop without a brain. Because what it does is it allows you to connect to an external device and use that external device as the central processor for the laptop. And the primary reason why I've looked at it in the past is for Samsung DeX, which is their desktop, and I'm going to do air quotes, desktop operating system on their mobile devices.
Right.
But it provides that laptop experience. Well, Nextbook has now released 2 other devices at CES. One, which I think is not worth the material it's made out of. The other one is very intriguing, though. The one that's not worth the material it's made out of is the Nexpad, which basically will take your phone, plug a big cable into it, and turn it into a tablet.
Mhm.
Okay. Conceptually, I kind of sort of get that. It gives you a big display. The implementation, when you look at the pictures of this thing,
Are ugly.
I'm sorry, this is somebody's garage project. It really is. It looks terrible. The phone is beneath the main screen, so it's going to be in your way of using it the whole time. The only thing plus I've seen with this particular configuration is you can disconnect the phone device. You can use this as a second monitor that sticks, because it's magnetic, sticks to the back of your primary monitor and stacks them vertically. Thought that was interesting.
Okay, that I could see.
Yeah, but that's just, it's not worth it. It's not for that.
Going to the cross-platform and the geek part,
Mhm.
this remind me when people laugh so bad at Jeff Hawkins on Palm when they come with
Mhm.
that folio or whatever it was called. Okay. And what proved, as I said at that time, that the problem with that product is not the product, is the product is years ahead of the competition.
Yep.
And when Samsung Dex came out, I thought, okay, maybe this is the time for this. And again, Dex was years
Mhm.
ahead of
Yeah.
this. And a proof of that is Samsung has not yet been able to really put it. But the concept is still brilliant. You know, that you are going to get this device and now get a full computer where I can work. And when I don't, I just pull my phone in my pocket and I don't need to carry multiple things.
The other device they released, to me, makes sense for this. It's what's called the Next Monitor, and it's a 20. I think it's a
The next
23,
dock,
20.
right?
No, it's called the Next Monitor, and because it is truly a full monitor on a stand, you can hook your keyboard and your mouse to it, Bluetooth compatible, but it has a magnetic piece on the side of it that you attach your phone to and plug the phone in, and it then allows you to channel Dex to your display.
Right.
It's something that you could do with like a Dex dock. That's fine, but it's really designed visually to be a desktop, and I like the idea. I think it's a little overpriced. They're pricing it, the starting price is about $450 for a 2K monitor, but this means that you're getting really close to being able to use that phone device as your primary computer. You plug it in, you're off and running. And you've been able to do that with this, like the Samsung Dex docks and all. That works, but this has a much more natural feel to it. And I think it has a visual design that lends itself more to it as well. So
And I believe the
just good to
visual
see.
design is the key, because I don't think the obstacle to this implementation is the technology. The obstacle to this is how we are used as the traditional laptop, how the traditional desktop should look. That this is way closer to that.
Yeah, I agree. So I was glad to see they brought out something nice like this. The Nexpad, guys, what are you doing? You got little screens laying around and you got to do something with them. I don't know. So anyway, so those are our 4 like news articles for this week that we thought had some innovation. We're going to keep doing this week after week, and we'll see how it goes.
Yep. So follow us where you like to listen podcasts, like us, subscribe to us, or leave us a review. You can also interact with us at personalproductivity.club. There is a channel for cross-platform. And come and play with us. Come and interact. Bring us the news. Bring us the geeks. So we are Augusto Pinaud and Art Gelwicks. And see you next time from your favorite device.